So there's this very young boy who was having trouble at school. His approach didn't quite fit the rigid system of education at the time. And this little boy would always ask questions like why and how instead of just simply memorizing all the lessons. And this really frustrated his teachers. They really struggled to keep him engaged in this curriculum. So one day, this boy comes home from school with this sealed letter from the principal who instructed him only to give it directly to his mom and no one else. So the boy hands the letter to his mom. She opens it and she starts to read. Her eyes began to fill with tears. So the young boy's looking up, he sees this emotional reaction and he just asks, "Hey, what does it say?" And with a huge smile, she reads the letter aloud. "Your son is a genius. This school is too small for him. We don't have enough good teachers to properly educate him. Please keep him at home and school him yourself." So she hugs him and she constantly develops him. She talks about his potential at all times. She made the decision right then and there to educate her son at home, to create this nurturing environment filled with books, experiments, and opportunities for exploration. That lady was Nancy Edison, and her son was Thomas. And years later, after she passed away, Thomas was going through his mother's belongings. He stumbled upon the letter and he opened it, right? He was curious to read the words that had changed his life. To his shock, the letter didn't say what his mother had told him it said. Instead, it read, "Your son is addled. He's mentally deficient. We cannot keep him in school any longer. He is expelled." And Edison's eyes filled with tears as he realized the depth of his mother's love. She believed in him. Nancy Edison's belief in her son instilled in him a sense of purpose and self-worth. Thomas went on to become one of the greatest inventors in history with over 1,000 patents to his name. He invented the light bulb, the phonograph, the motion picture camera. He literally transformed the world. That's a pretty incredible story, isn't it? And it's important to remember this idea of belief as we're developing people, because there's really two sides to this coin. The first side is putting the right people in the right seats. People have natural abilities and aptitudes. Some are great with processes. Some are great with products. Some are great with people. And that's the way we look at it. Then we simply match them to roles within the company that align with their ikigai, that sweet spot where their strengths and passions meet. And if you do this same thing, this approach is going to make a massive difference in the success of your business, of your asset and your team. So then how do we actually put the right people in the right seats? Well, you can rely on tools. I love to use tools like the Kolbe A Index. So it's about $50 a person, but I think it's really worth it because it helps people identify how they naturally take action. Another resource is the book Top Grading by Bradford Smart, which I think is critical for just putting the right people on your team. So that's one side of the coin, and that's an important one, but I think it's definitely not equal. That's like 20% of the equation. Now let's talk about the other 80%, and that's belief. I've seen so many CEOs and managers just fire people relentlessly if they're not doing a good job. Have you ever stopped to think about why they're not doing a good job? Have you clearly set expectations? I mean, people have a tendency to actually live up to our expectations of them. And when we believe in someone, we're giving them this incredible gift. Belief is that powerful. And man, would it be all right if I told you a very personal story as it relates to me about belief? So I'm 5 years old, running around the house, and my mom notices this bulge like right below the belly button. So it's a hernia. Now, when you're a kid at this age, an operation's a big deal because they have to put you under. And I was really scared. But my mom said, "Hey, don't worry, I'll be there when you wake up." So they put me under, they do the operation. It was successful, but they didn't give me enough anesthesia. So I remember they're wheeling me out of the operating room, and there was a nurse, male nurse, who looked at me, and I woke up as he's like wheeling me into the other room, and he was as shocked as I was. And he just put me in the hallway and ran away. He left me there. And I was just like shocked. I was in a state of shock. And it was probably about 30 minutes or so, but my mom said that moment, that traumatic event, is when I started to have this stutter, this speech impediment that's been with me for the rest of my life. And it took me 15 plus years to start believing in myself at all. But I had someone in my life who was very much like Thomas Edison's mom. It was my older sister, Kathy, who's 11 years older than me. And I literally remember from the time I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, she was always there, like building me up. So she's 16, 17, 18. She's a young girl herself, but she had enough foresight to understand that her little brother was struggling. She kept reinforcing over and over and over again that I could do whatever I set my mind to. I remember literally hearing this hundreds of times. And every time those words came out of her mouth and into my ears, it was like a seed that was dropped into fertile soil. And then she kept watering it. She took care of it. She took care of me. But nothing was blooming. From 5 to 20 years old or so, I was literally the kid who was going to amount to nothing. I always got in trouble. My grade point average was below a 2.0 throughout high school. I never really got into drugs or alcohol, but I was definitely into the wrong stuff all the time, like vandalism, shoplifting. I guess in hindsight, it was like this outlet, this expression for me. It was a way that I could get rid of some frustration. And I still had these big dreams. I wanted to play professional football. But here's the thing, I never really made the decision to actually play football in high school. There was always a reason to quit. And if I'm honest, I think because I was failing so often, like every day of my life, that in the back of my head, I didn't want to fail at that. It's like if I didn't even try, then I couldn't fail. At least I think that's what my subconscious mind was thinking. And then after high school, I took a year off to go to work, and I wanted to save up enough money to try and walk on at a college. And I did. So I actually made the team at the University of Akron, which is a Division I school in the Mid-American Conference. And then for me, everything changed when I had to give a speech in a college class. So in high school, I was smart enough to be able to talk the teachers into letting me give them the speech in private. But then when I got to college as a freshman, the teacher said, nope, you have to get up in front of the class and give a speech. That's one of the requirements. So that's what I did. I actually got excited about this. I thought, man, even though I was nervous, fear was definitely living in my heart. I thought to myself, I need to just get up. I need to slay the dragon, if you will. So I did. I practiced for 2 weeks before, and then the day of my speech, I had it written out in the 3x5 index cards. I remember getting up in front of the class, and I hold up the cards, and I try to get the first words out, and they're right in front of me, and I go to read the first words, and nothing came out. My neck muscles were bulging. I got red, my heartbeat, right, starts to race, start to sweat. I remember looking out at the classroom, and as I made eye contact with students, like they literally would look down. I felt their sorrow for me in that moment. And I stood up there for 10 minutes until finally my professor walked around, she pats me on the back, and she walks me to my seat. Like I was devastated. It was the dragon killing me in that moment. And I remember just thinking, what a loser, like what a failure. Like all these fears you had growing up just manifested themselves in that moment. And I sat back, I was probably 20, 30 minutes more of class, but it was just a blur. Walking to my car, and these thoughts just continued. So I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I was at the lowest point I'd ever been mentally. And it was because I failed. Like I couldn't do something that normal people could do, that normal people should be able to do. And it was this disability, it was this handicap. And all these thoughts just continued as I'm, in my car. I'm driving away from campus for a few minutes. I decided to turn the radio on, and there was a song. And it was, "You Can't Keep a Good Man Down." And man, that was like God shot a bolt of lightning through my T-top, and I was flooded with emotion. And I started focusing on everything right in my life. I had a girlfriend who loved me, who I married. I had my family. I had my friends. I had my future. And I had this vision for what my life could be like. And I remember just focusing on this, and everything just started to expand. I actually remember thinking like, that was it. Like that was what you've been fearing your entire adolescent life. Like that was it. So you're still here, you're still walking, you still have all of this goodness around you. And that was in hindsight when everything switched for me. Because that's when I quit letting fear make decisions for me. That's when I started doing internships in college. That's when I started putting myself out there in sales positions at work. That's when I started to realize that when we don't let fear make decisions, when we can operate and use fear as energy, man, that's when life opens up. And that's why belief is so important, because as a leader, your job is to develop people. You're a builder of men and women. You're planting seeds, you're watering them. You're creating this environment where they can grow. You just need to see the strengths in other people, maybe even before they see it themselves. I think it's that important. You just need to see the strengths in other people, maybe even before they see it themselves. Yes, testing and putting the right people in the right seats is super important, but belief is where the magic happens. That's what turns average into exceptional. And if you can master both sides of this coin, so matching people to their strengths and then believing in their potential, you're going to build an incredible team. So let me leave you with this. Who do you need to believe in today?